Hey, this is episode 13 of the Channeling Source podcast. How are you doing? I'm Brandon Bloom, and Kat is here as well. And I'm going to be jumping out of the way, jumping into full channel mode and channeling the Angelic Collective of Xorbítal and Source for you guys on a series of questions that Kat is bringing to the table today. And the questions usually resonate for everyone or a lot of people who listen. So I'm looking forward to seeing what comes through for you guys today regarding these. And I haven't seen these questions ahead of time, so I'm really interested, interested to see what they channel through. So, Kat, would you like to say hello and say anything else before we begin?
Yeah, hi. Thanks so much for being here. Like you said, my name is Kat. I do my own channeling and intuitive work, but I'm really just here because I'm passionate about the work that Brandon does and want to help facilitate bringing through his guide's responses. So yeah, like you said, I hope these questions resonate. They are a little bit more out there, so keep an open mind. But I'm excited to see where it goes.
All right. Well, this will be fun, probably, I would say. So,
Probably.
all right. Well, like I said, I'm going to jump out of the way, jump into full channel mode. I'm going to edit it so it goes kind of right to it. So you guys don't have to wait while I jump into full channel mode and let's get cracking, I guess. Welcome to today's episode. And we are ready for these questions. And no matter how out there, how strange, we always have a way to ground the information and get it to the audience in a way that will resonate and assist them. So do not shame your questions or regret your questions or think there are wrong questions for. Each question can lead to the truth, can lead to what is true. Especially if you are asking from an authentic place where you are open to receive and you have an open mind enough to get there, as opposed to being closed down through projection, stories, judgments, etc. So, Kat, hit us with your questions when you are ready, for we are prepared to channel through whatever you throw at us.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so my first question, it's in regards to, I think a couple episodes back, you mentioned that there is a part of us that stays on the other side when we incarnate. You had said that we weren't ready to necessarily hear that answer, and I just wanted to check back in about that.
Hmm. Yes. Well, the reason we did not channel on it in the prior episode is energetically it would have taken certain individuals off the rails or been a bit much psychologically, mentally, emotionally, even energetically, for it had a lot of friction with their prior belief systems, which were already being, for some of them, challenged and tested by our presence alone, even. However, what we were saying. So we are ready to stretch a bit more with this one, those listening for this topic. We will not go too far, for it is a complex topic and not everyone will understand, even with what we will say today, no matter how we simplify it or condense it into a more obtainable information packet for the human brain. So you must realize, in a sense, you are all. You are never separate from source. So, how can you separate from source when you come here? You do not. It is as simple as that in some ways. There are many stories of separation between you and the divine that religion sells people on the planet, that the government even sells people on the planet, that people's stories have. If you watch movies or certain things, there's so many stories of separation from the divine or human will versus God's will, etc. It is funny because, in a sense, you are God. So, how could you have separated from God when you came here? When, in a sense, God is everything. Now, of course, this does not mean to go around ingesting poison because God is everything. No, no, no. You still use your discernment. You still look at what's optimal and what makes sense and what is for the highest good from an intuitive level, from every level, even. So, think of it this way: see a tunnel between you and source. And see this tunnel as outside of time, outside of space, infinite, unlimited. And that is your connection to source in a sense. We are simplifying it. It's a bit more complex than this. So take it as an example and something pointing the way, not necessarily the whole overarching truth of the whole thing. So stay with it for a second. That is you, and you have not separated from source because you still are source in a sense. So your soul is both here and there because your soul is both, and your soul is all of that. In a sense, your soul is like your connection to source. So when you die, you just go back to source. You're already there in a sense. You're just ending the projection here. And projection, we mean in a different way than societal projections or judgments. It's a different meaning of the word. So that is what we will say on that for starters. It is important not to think yourself separate from the divine overly much. And while we understand the importance of differentiation between, let's say, human mind and divine thinking or divine channeling, and ego and what your angels are saying, for example, and we understand the difference between a judgment a human makes up and what is true as far as the divine sees it, it is still not true that you are separate from source, regardless of what you experience here, no matter how untrue that may seem to the human brain who has been trained into that line of thinking, or who has been trained that, oh, you have this soul that is separate from God on earth and you have to do your darndest to get back to heaven. You're already there. You're already grounding in heaven as we speak because you are there and here. And any story to the contrary is a lie meant to take you away from your power in some ways, or it just came from someone who does not realize what is true. And there's plenty of that going around on earth, so that's not something to beat up on yourselves or anyone else about. It's just something to sit with and begin to receive the truth regarding. And those of you who are intuitive, you will know what we are speaking of with this. It's not so complex if you get the knowing of it. You get the intuitive feeling and knowing of it. But to the human mind, it is very complex. So try not to get wrapped up in it. See it as a multidimensional, extra dimensional thing and a beyond the dimensions thing. And that will get some of your brains going beyond the dimensions. Well, in some ways, that's where source is. Source is all of it. Source is also beyond the dimensions. And there's nothing to fear beyond the dimensions. For those of you freaking out, that's not where hell is. There is no hell. So we are ready to move on. Do you have anything else you'd like to ask us about that? Or anything else you'd like to ask? And by the way, we say that to allow the conversation to flow. We know where it's headed.
Okay. I don't have any follow-up questions on that. I do appreciate it because that's something that I've been sitting with the last couple of days, and it kind of affirms my own knowing around it. Um, I do like shamanic journeying, and I have these, I guess what some would consider like out-of-body experiences. And I was thinking about how those experiences aren't necessarily any less real than my experience of being on Earth. And how maybe dying can be seen as just like a shifting in a point of consciousness. Um, and yeah, I don't know if that makes sense to anyone listening, but it made it seem a lot less scary to me. Um, so yeah, what you said, I appreciate. My next question is, have I incarnated on a planets other than Earth?
Yes. Now, that is a topic not many of you tuning in are ready for. There are other planets that exist with life, and there are other dimensions that exist with life. And this is beyond the scope of human understanding for many brains tuning in. So we will keep it brief so as not to fry you with the information. To confirm your question, though, and to confirm your suspicions, yes, you have incarnated in other lifetimes and other planets and other systems, and some vastly far away from Earth. That is all we will say on that. For otherwise, many will get confused based on their prior understandings and trying to line it up with what we have just said and the information we would deliver. And we're not here to confuse people. In the right time, the information will come to light and will come through in a smoother way for those listening. So, not all are ready. That is what we will say for now on that.
Okay, thank you. Uh, okay, my next question, is heart energy more unique to Earth?
No and yes. The heart is something that is almost like a new thing in the universe, in the way it's showing up on Earth. And Earth's heart energy is unique in that it can expand into higher consciousness much more readily than others on other planets or on other systems. And that might seem very strange to some of you, for you might think, well, this is the most restricted, most mm, cracked down upon consciousness wise planet that's out there. And actually, that's not quite true in the way that we see it. We see Earth as a planet that can be totally free consciousness wise, and it's headed that direction over time, regardless of what you see in your society and your systems. And by the way, this is not to denigrate other planets, other societies, other systems. We are just saying that Earth is positioned uniquely with heart energy in the way it can evolve and the speed in which it can transform, regardless of the systems you see on the planet that seem to contradict that. For we are looking at it from an etheric sense and what we see energetically. We are not trapped in the same physical projections and judgments and stories that you are sold that make it difficult to see beyond. We hesitate to use this word, for many of you will misconstrue it and think it is something that's way more heavy and important and significant than it is. However, the matrix, so to speak. And we will use matrix differently than many practitioners on your planet will. We will not say it is this big, heavy structure that you can't escape from, and it works just like the movie The Matrix. We are using it loosely. Think of the matrix as a series of projections and judgments, assumptions, presumptions that people live within. It's very easy to get out of. You just have to turn your head. You just have to live differently. And living in a higher aligned way, working with manifestation, working with your magic, working with miracles, working with your channeling, working with intuition, that gets you out of it automatically. So we do not say that to trap you or make you think you're in this big, heavy trap and you can't get out. On the contrary, it's very easy to escape the quote unquote 3D matrix. And we realize we take a risk in saying that, for many of you will misconstrue our words and apply it in a way that you've heard other practitioners say it. We do not mean it that way. We mean it in a much looser way, okay? You are not trapped, you are not stuck, and that is the message: is you are not trapped and not stuck. So heart energy is not totally unique to Earth. However, it is the energy that will transform the universe the most right now as people shift into it more, awaken it more, and raise the consciousness of the heart on the planet. And we will say this: many other systems that have that are awakened as far as their heart energy. And that is why Earth is important in a sense, because it's still awakening it to its highest capacity. So that is what we will say.
Okay, thank you. My next question is my higher self a part of this personality framework or is it beyond it?
Beyond.
Okay.
The
And then,
personality
oh,
framework is Earth construct.
mm.
Highest self is well beyond that.
So does
You could
any of
see
this,
the you
I'm
could
so sorry.
see the personality construct as a puppet that your highest self plays with or works through. And in fact, you could see the personality construct as in the way of the highest self sometimes if you rely on it too much or make it too much of what you identify as. You hold it loosely, you allow your highest self to play with it and shift it and transform it, and then you become more your highest self. What was your question?
Uh, So then is there any part of this construct that stays or like integrates into the higher self once I leave?
Mm. No, not in the way you think.
Okay, interesting.
It is not that this is all useless as far as your physical makeup or your experience on Earth. Far from it. It's just that sometimes the thing you identify as is not you. And that might freak some of you out. It's not something to freak out about. It is just true. And you've done it and worked with it many times before. You could see it as you are consciousness playing as a puppet that your more human self is, in a sense. And again, many of you will misconstrue our words and think that you do not matter. That's false. That is not what we said. We are just saying the personality you've been trained into by society is not you. Consciousness is you. Source is you. Highest self is you. Awareness is you. And a bit beyond.
Mm. So then is enlightenment coming from the higher self, like at all times?
Yes, in a sense. Uh, Enlightenment is a very misunderstood construct and concept on the planet. Enlightenment, in a sense, is you being more light. Enlightenment is you being the light that you are.
Mm.
Enlightenment is not meditating 3 hours every day on a mountain and fasting and all this human mumbo jumbo. It is literally letting your light in and living from that 24/7 and living from it so much that that is what you become. Just consciousness, just light. That does not mean you have no ego whatsoever. It just means you do not live from ego. And again, many of you will misconstrue what we just said. We would suggest approaching enlightenment intuitively. Ask your spirit guides, hey, am I enlightened? No. Oh, what will it take for me to get there if that's what I'd like to get to? Hey, am I enlightened? Yes. Oh, awesome. I did not realize I was enlightened. Now that I'm enlightened, what else would I like to attain and have as my life? Now that that goal or target has been attained, maybe I would like money now. So, do you understand?
Yes.
Please approach it intuitively. For if you approach it from the stories that the planet has or different gurus have, you may or may not get there or may or may not be headed in the right direction. For there are many misconceptions of what enlightenment has to look like, be like, feel like, etc.
Mm. My
What is
next,
your next question?
yeah, my next question is life a serious thing or is it just an experience?
Well, it is both in some ways, depending on how you look at it. We would say, no, it's not serious. Though to the human, it can be serious because in your minds, for some of you, this is all you have, which is not true. You are so much more. You are so much more expansive.
Mm.
However, the more you have fun and play with it, the more you make it something you enjoy, the more you live from joy. That is more what life is about. Sure, there could be serious moments. There could be things you take seriously. That's part of the human game. That's part of the fun of being here for some of you. Taking it seriously. Ha ha ha. Very funny. Very funny from our perspective in some ways, how seriously you take yourselves. For you could just have a life of play and joy and fun, and that would be enough. You would get everything you needed. Some of you will hate our words there. You will hate us for saying that because your life has been very serious. You've gone through so much hardship, so much struggle. Well, lighten up. Maybe that's been the problem the whole time. You thought that was important. That's the life you chose to live based on the projections and the matrix that was sold to you. But that was not the truth. That was not true. And now you have the possibility to choose something different with the remainder of your years. Does that not set you free? So, no, it is not about serious lessons all the time and going through hardship and struggle. That's just a belief. Just a belief.
Mm.
No matter how much you hate it, no matter how much you hate our words, just a belief. You did not come here to struggle. contrary to what your mind will tell you, to validate your stories. You did not come here to suffer or have hardship. You might gain something from it to turn your life in a different direction. However, you always have a choice. We would say move towards joy. Why do you think we have said move towards joy so much on this podcast? Move towards what you enjoy, get in a lighter energy, move towards lightness, because you don't have to struggle. You don't have to struggle. And we are saying this very viciously for some of you, because otherwise you will not hear our words. You'll just go right back to the programming. Time to struggle. Time to go to the job that I hate. You don't have to live that way. Even if you thought you did, even if another reader told you you have to struggle for XYZ enlightenment, no. They were coming from their projection. Time to wake up. Time to wake up. With love. So no, it does not have to be serious. You can create it however you'd like. Some of you have soul missions that bring you through serious periods or bring you through something so you can get to a lighter place. However, you can shift that. You can talk to your soul. Hey, is there a lighter way to do this? Hey, is there a better way for me? Hey, can we shift some beliefs to have a lighter experience here? And you can. That's exiting the matrix. In some ways, we actually hate that word. However, some of you won't hear us if we don't say it. Because you're too trained to believe the matrix is a thing. That's the only way you'll hear us, is if we say escape the matrix. Then all of a sudden you'll want to do it. Ha. The movies on your earth are a very funny thing, how they influence your collective and the ways your collective thinks. We'll use it. We'll use it if that's what will get you to listen. So, does that answer your question? Or do you have more on the topic that we could speak to?
Mhm. Yeah, no, I think that answers it. I mean, it's what you're saying about those calling themselves gurus and things like that, just selling these beliefs. Because I think like where my head goes is, well, you came here to work on X, Y, and Z theme. You need to really pay attention to that. You need to be serious about that because like that's why you're on Earth. But
No,
also, no, like, why can't I, if I am going to learn things or work on certain things, like, there's no reason I can't do that through joy. Um,
correct. Ding ding. Winner, winner.
Yay.
You've won Jeopardy. Congratulations. Here's your free car. Ha. We are joking. We will say this, though.
Mm-hmm.
You did not come here to learn anything necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
Your soul already is everything. What would it have to learn? Your soul can get that information from source. Yes, you might go through things to learn something on the earth plane to help this lifetime or connecting lifetimes, where you are an interconnecting web of lifetimes in some ways, as far as your earth reality is concerned. And that will turn some of your brains around as well, as opposed to what we have just said earlier. Well, both can be true if you see yourself as everything. So, part of escaping the matrix is realizing you do not have to learn anything for your soul, realizing you do not have to take it seriously, realizing you can have a lighter approach no matter how real and serious your problems seem. Are they your problems or did you take them on from someone else? Did you just buy their true from someone else? Can you just walk out of them by changing you? We realize we will lose some of you with that one because you think your problems are so real and heavy. There's no way to get away from them. Well, that's just a story. That's just your trained belief. You can change that. You can change your reality. You can live from a different place. So you can walk away from this if you'd like to validate your struggle and prove it's real, and prove it's right, and prove you're right for having it, and try to vindicate your suffering, which keeps you there, by the way. That's why we do not validate your suffering as much as you might wish us to, because it does not have to be true.
Mm.
Your soul already knows enough. It does not have to learn anything here. So, what then can be true? What life can you have if you escape from the suffering you don't need to be going through? We would like the next question, please.
Mhm. From your perspective, why did Source choose to have the experience of Earth?
Hmm. Well, Earth is an experiment in some ways. What happens if the divine becomes conscious on Earth? You could also see it as Source's playground in a way. And some of you might think that's a very heavy perspective because you look at the war, you look at all the things that are going on, and how is this Source's playground? Well, it hasn't fully woken up yet. It's like turning the lights on slowly over time. And you're only halfway through turning the lights on where Source is fully awake through humanity in a way. Sort of. We are just giving you an example.
Was
You
there
need
a way? I'm sorry.
continue.
Was there a way for Source to have the lights on fully from the beginning, or was this kind of part of the plan?
This is part of the plan.
Mm.
This is part of the plan. Again, many of you take things very seriously on Earth. Oh, the economy. We do not see it that way. We see it as you waking up. We see it as you ready to evolve. We see it as you ready to embody more of Source. The way you are thinking of it, you are seeing it as boom, flash, everything's there, everything's awakened, all the technology is there, all the people are awakened, everything just exists. That can happen in a different universe, not that there is one. However, there are certain ways that Source is working through this iteration of things for a reason. You might hate what we are saying because of the suffering you see on Earth. You are just waking up. You are going through what you need to wake up and to have a more conscious, aware planet. Many other planets in the universe have gone through the same things, have gone through the awakening. And it really shifts everything in the universe as you do so. So try not to take our words too literally. Hold them lightly. Hold them as an energy and see where it points. See what it points you to. And that will lead you to more of what is true. For the words we are saying, if you take them too literally, are not necessarily totally true. And you might be asking, well, why say them? Well, it points you in a direction. It gets you to chew on things. It opens you to what is true. Eventually, as you can digest it. If we handed all of you totally, exactly what was true directly, verbatim, many of you would freak out. Many of you would not be able to handle it. So we point you in the direction. And it's not because what is true is bad. Not at all. It is because you are too steeped in judgment to see what is true for many of you. So you won't be able to reckon with it. That is why we have been very loose with you in these conversations. We've been very direct in some areas. We are opening you up to what is true energetically. We are getting you there energetically. We are doing a lot through these that is not just information, though we understand the information can be key as well. So try not to judge our words, hold them very loosely. And if you forget everything the second this is over, that's fine too. Because what is true, what will come to each of you in the right time, this lifetime or another. Keep in mind, time works differently outside of time. So what seems slow to you might not seem very slow to the divine. It's just a necessary process as things are currently, as far as what is allowed on Earth, even by, in some ways, the will of humans. if that makes more sense. And that does not mean that the divine will force you to wait a long time for a manifestation, and it is not a long time. And so you think it's wasting your time because of the divine is not a long time. It doesn't work quite like that either. Source knows your experience, or it can know your experience. Have a little trust. It's just to say that to you, what you see is not the same as what the divine sees. And if you would like to see more of the divine on earth more quickly, it's time to change you. It's time to allow that in. It's time to be the change. That is what we will say. Do you have any further questions?
Yeah, my last question. We were watching a Lee Harris initiation. For those who don't know, he's a really great channeler. Super recommend him. But he was talking about a crystalline light body coming in to be integrated. And I was just wondering either your thoughts on that or if there's a way to accelerate that process if that is desired.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, once again, you take things a little too literally. You think you will literally have crystals growing out of your body for some of you when you hear a phrase like that, or you think you are literally physically going to be a crystal buried in the earth. No, not quite. It's a bit more complex than that. You have to look at it energetically. In a way, it is a way to say you are ascending and becoming something new, which you are. The human body is evolving, much like creatures on Earth evolve and change form and change the way they work to suit a certain plan or to suit a certain environment. You are evolving to become more spiritual in a way, more connected, more divine on Earth. The way to expedite the process is, well, we would say individually, for many of you, ask your spirit team. If you are at the place to channel and intuit, ask them for an exercise or something to do every day that will begin to integrate this more readily and easily. For the key word is integration. How quickly can you integrate? How much ease can you integrate this with? Now, it's important not to go into judgment. You might think, oh, processed food is keeping me from integrating my light body. Well, why are you limiting it? Why don't you check in intuitively and see if that's actually true before you jump to an assumption like that? Just because some other spiritual mumbo jumbo person said that. You have too many judgments that uh, create a reality not great for you for some of you. And you think that's just the way it is. False. That's the way you believe it is. That's the way you create it is. Ha. Ha, ha, ha. You all think you have no power. You're the ones who create it so. You think you can't change something, that you're the ones who create it so. Ha, ha, ha. We are not laughing at you. We are laughing at the ridiculousness of your beliefs. And you think everyone else is the problem. No, not quite. Sometimes, sometimes not. You'll have to use your discernment. Anyways, to integrate the light body, the crystalline light body more, you'll have to think of things that connect you spiritually and things that ground in your light more. So, channeling is one way to do this. Getting into higher vibrations is one way to do this. Grounding is another way to do this. Meditating with the intention, with a specific exercise or intention to ground in your crystalline light body more will do the trick as well. We would say use your intention and use something that feels spiritual to you. That might sound a little bit interesting for us to say, to something that feels spiritual to you. However, it is about your intention in some ways. The other word we will say is receiving. How readily can you receive divine information, divine energy? And how much work have you done in your body and for your body to be in a place to receive divine energies? Channeling is one way to open up, yes. Energy healing is another way to open up. And as you evolve quite naturally, as you do things for self-care even to get your body to a better place, give your body what it's asking for, and do that intuitively, please. You open to the crystalline light body more. That is one way. And there are many. This is not something you can force, by the way. This is something divine's bringing in as you are ready, as your human bodies can handle. Where you do have a certain system that has to have a certain pacing to it, each of you individually, that you came here to work with in a sense, and you came here to evolve. If you try to force it, your body might not be ready. So, in some ways, it does just look like your personal evolution, in addition to grounding in this new thing. So, we will give you a specific exercise for it. For some of you are clamoring for that. You're like, no, tell us how to do it. Tell us how to do it. Tell us how to do it. Fine. We will give you an exercise and you can go from there and check it intuitively. And if you get something else to do, do that as well. Now, for this exercise, see yourself as meditating. So get into a meditative state. Just close your eyes if you can. If you're driving, of course, do not close your eyes physically. Do this when you have time to be in a quiet place with yourself or something like that. And it's safe to do so. No operating heavy machinery. Close your physical eyes and just see yourself enveloped in a quartz crystal. It can be a thin layer around all of your skin. It could be huge in the size of a house or perhaps even a whole planet, depending on your evolution and what you need right now. And just breathe energy into that crystal from source. So as you breathe in, see a golden stream of energy or a white light from source, or both, golden and white lights, whichever you prefer. If it shows up as a different color, don't worry about that. Let it be the color that shows up. However, breathe this color in. You can either see it go directly to the crystal or breathe it in through your crown chakra to your heart center. And you can see your heart as a rose quartz crystal or a quartz crystal, whatever shows up for you. As the energy breathes into your heart, let it be there. And on the out breath, breathe it out into the crystal surrounding you. So breathe in energy from source, pure energy for the highest good. Breathe it out to the crystal. And again, you can do it either way, directly to the crystal or to your heart and then to the crystal outside of you. And just do that 10 minutes for every day, and you will begin to expedite the process of grounding in the crystalline light body that is the ascension vehicle for humans at this time. And again, we do not mean ascending off of the planet and disappearing into the void or anything like that. It's an embodied ascension, is taking the earth higher. And you could see yourselves in a different sense. So that's the exercise, by the way. Very simple. Go do that on your own time. You could see yourselves as crystalline children, in a sense, where you are both source and the earth. You have physical bodies from the earth. You have a soul from source. And what is the earth? Well, it's made of rock. It's made of stardust. It's made of water. Made of all these things. However, it's also crystalline. And you come from that crystalline earth, the body. So you are becoming more of what you are, in a sense, a purer form when you ascend. That might not make sense to some of you. Seeing as it starts energetically, it will start to make sense in the future. You become amplified. You become more. You become more of what you are. You become less of what this reality tells you are, as far as society and judgment, etc. Does that make sense for now?
That makes sense to me.
Perfect.
Well, that was all the questions I have. Is there anything else that you want to add before we end it?
Yes. Hold this lightly. Everything we said today, for all of you, hold this very lightly. For as Kat said in the beginning, it is a bit out there. It gets into topics that are not always easily understood by the brain that you are working with. However, it's understood by the soul energetically, and you all have this information within you and all around you. You all have this information available to you as a soul. So try not to take anything too literally. Sit with it and hold it loosely. This is meant to expand your mind, expand your soul, and expand your body. into the next level of you. That is what this episode is about. It's meant to help you get out of the matrix, quote unquote, in a way. Again, we hate that word. And we use the word hate to get you to look at that concept differently, the matrix. Not because we actually hate anything. Some of you think we use words quite as literally as you do. We use it to get your attention, we use it to shift things. And we use it in a way that's for the highest good. Some of you think we mean judgment when we say hate. No. How else are we supposed to catch your attention and get you off your phone? How else are we supposed to get you to listen when you tune everything out that isn't exactly what you think? How else are we supposed to challenge you to stretch and grow if we do not challenge you at all with what you think, with what you believe? If your life were exactly how you'd like it to be, to a T, as amazing, expansive, and glorious as it could be, we would leave you alone. But it's not, is it? For the vast majority of you tuning in. Maybe one of you is close. Congratulations. However, if things are not exactly how you'd like them to be to a T, as expansive, as glorious, as amazing, as abundant as they can be, something can shift. Something can become better and brighter and more glorious for you in an aligned way that's for the highest good. Something can evolve. And those are the buttons we press with our words, what we say. We seek to get you to the next level. So hold our words loosely until you understand what we mean on an energetic level. And then you will be ready to evolve further. That's all we wish to say. We do not have a big speech for you this time, like many of the other episodes. We will also say this podcast will evolve. There will be different forms this podcast will take. So try not to get too attached to this is always how it will be. We're not going away. We're just letting you know things will evolve. So that's all we have. We wish you well. Godspeed to you, evolving human beings and incarnate beings, or humanoids if you identify as humanoid, or angel incarnate if you identify as an angel incarnate, or whatever you be. There's no wrong identification. Some are more correct than others, we will say. However, there's no wrong identification if it works for you right now. So have fun with yourselves. And we will see you in the future after just one more thing. Please play. Play in your lives more. Ground in the energies you would like to see. Create your life the way you would like to see it. That will do more for the world than any struggle, sacrifice, or story that you have to do those things, things like struggle, sacrifice, ever did or ever would. Your joy does more for the world than a single sacrifice ever will. And that does not mean be so self-centered and so selfish that you never do any good for anyone, that you are a total asshole to other people. That's not what that means. However, it does mean some of you are not selfish enough in a healthy way. And by selfish in this instance, we mean you care about yourselves. And you'd have to see it as slightly selfish for you to do it. For some of you, you think self-care is, as long as everyone else's needs are met, I can maybe give to myself a little. Self-care, yay, a little crumb. Ha, no. No, 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 no. Be selfish enough that you care about yourself. Just not selfish enough that you're an asshole to everybody else. And you'll have to gauge our words with discernment, because some of you have different levels of what you think we mean. You think not being an asshole means not having a boundary. No. Not being an asshole means not being a piece of awful crap to everyone around you and not being narcissistic and awful to people. Do you get it? So we will leave you there. We will leave you to chew on that. Many of you will misunderstand even our last sentence to a vast degree, and we are okay with that, for you are on your journey, and eventually you'll get there at the right time as the right people say the right things in the journey ahead to correct things in your head about what we just said. We'll say one thing to smooth it over. Care about yourself and see where that leads to. If you just do that, you'll understand our words a bit more and stop taking it the wrong way. For those of you that did, we're done. Know that you are evolving. Take our words lightly and live your best life. Farewell for now. And don't forget to play, enjoy your lives, and be the divine on earth, not through a judgment of what that is, but through a receiving from source of what that means. Farewell. Okay. Well, that seemed like a very interesting one. So I'm very curious to see. I'm really wondering to see what the reception to that episode will be. Anyways, Kat, is there anything? Well, what was for that? What's for that for me to get to here?
Mhm.
Anyway, guys, before we start to totally sign off here, I love you. I'm sending love. I know some of you are going through difficult things, so this might have been very triggering for you, some of you.
Mhm.
And take care of yourselves, is kind of what I'll say. And try not to beat up on yourselves according to this episode, but see where it might be leading you or ask, like, oh, what did they mean about that? I wonder if that's true. I wonder what they were trying to lead us to with that instead of judging it or assuming what it means right away is something I'll recommend. And if it triggered you, I'm actually going to say good because that's your evolution. That's an emotional thing to work through, a mental block to work through. It's something that if you work through it and move it out of your system, you're going to be in a better place. So it was meant to trigger you. And that's part of your emotional evolution. So the words I'm hearing are so you're a more pure being, which might also be triggering. Okay. And it's not to say you're impure and awful either. It's again, take their words lightly in a sense. It's just meant to take you to your next level. So, Kat, do you have anything you'd like to say about any of that, or anything you feel called to say, or anything your guides are saying to say before we start to close this one out?
Yeah, that one did seem a little bit more intense. I had periods where I felt like I was like we were like getting yelled at by the teacher.
You were
Which
kind
I
of is what they're saying, but it's so you'll
but
listen.
it's like the tough love. Like it's like for our highest good.
Exactly
Um,
is what they're
but
saying.
yeah. So yeah, I guess a couple of things I'll add. One, for those who relate, I've had periods in my journey where I've overwhelmed myself by trying to expand too quickly or by trying to understand concepts too fast that I wasn't ready for. So I feel like that's kind of what they were trying to do was not create that level of overwhelm because it's
Yep.
not fun. Um, and that the information or like the understanding will come in time. And
Yes.
yes. And also something that helps me sometimes is like I don't like allowing myself to stay in a situation that I hate. Um, how do I put this? Like, okay, sometimes our brains can do this thing where it's like, no, I have to make money. I have to do this job. I've been told this over and over and over again. This is the only way. And sometimes a way to loosen that is just to ask, like, um, okay, like what if I choose this? What would that look like? And then like by creating space to choose it, you're able to choose something else. If that makes
Yeah.
sense.
So just to clarify, what did you mean by what if I chose this? Did you mean what if I chose something different than the thing I've been told over and over again? Like if I have a story like, oh, I have to go to this particular job and I have to work at this specific company or I'm a failure. And if I, are you saying like, what if I choose like having my own business, for example. Is that what you're saying when you say, what if I choose something else?
Or just like inviting in that choice exists. So that, but also like, okay, am I allowed to choose this situation that I hate? Like, is there any part of me that wants to choose this?
Oh,
Because I think so often, like, it's just the stories and projections that are put onto it that make us feel like we have to do it. And it takes away like that agency. Um, I don't know. We can also edit all of this out because I feel like it's
no,
not,
no, no. You're onto something here. People need to hear this, is what I'm getting.
it's kind
So
of
are
for,
you more, sorry, go ahead.
yeah. I was kind of thinking about it in terms of, and I don't want this to be like an offensive uh, way to put it at all, but when we treat like substance abuse in therapy, uh, there's like you do it like harm reduction methods of no one's going to take this thing away from you that helps you or that brings you relief or that you feel attached to or that you need to some degree. Um, and sometimes that our suffering can feel like this is what I know. This is what I've become attached to. I'm in like crash position. I'm in survival mode. I don't have space to think about the possibilities of there being a choice. I'm just trying to deal with this. And so it's like inviting in like, okay, then do that. Like you're allowed to just stay there. Like you're allowed to be like that. And when you give someone that permission, it becomes easier for them to be like, oh, there is like a layer of agency here where I can look around and consider something else. Um,
Okay, I see what you're saying.
okay.
Yeah. It's like it's okay to choose what you're choosing.
It's
And
okay to choose what you're choosing. Like
in
it's
a weird
okay to,
way, when you allow yourself to be okay with choosing what you're choosing, you might be willing to choose something else all of a sudden because you don't have to
yeah, it's like
play
letting
that.
go of
Yeah.
any like shame and judgment. Because I've had so many periods in my journey where I'm like, oh my God, why do I keep making this choice? Like I hate myself for this. And it's just like it compresses it further. Um, versus just being like, okay, I see that I'm doing this. Maybe some part of me is choosing this for a reason. Maybe there's space to investigate what that is. Maybe I don't have to evolve out of this really fast right away. Like I can just let it be at the pace that is best for me.
I'm hearing that's a very healthy approach.
Okay.
And one of the key words there is no judgment.
No judgment, no judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think there can be this dichotomy of like either you've made it or you haven't. Like you're either enlightened or you're not. And if you're not, then you're like they said, like, or you said the word pure being triggering. Like if you're not, you're impure. And that's has so many Christian overtones to it and everything. And um, can bring the shame. But
Yeah. Totally. Well, it's interesting because they're almost saying that's why they use that word to kind of get people out of it and to look at it instead of like, oh, assuming it's Christian or like it almost like triggers people out of it and gets them to look at like what is pure. And then it's like not what they thought. And then they can move into what is pure as source sees it instead of like having to live according to a Christian or something judgment in a weird
mhm.
way. Or I'm saying it in a way that like I'm half hitting what they're trying to get me to say. What's the full message here on what they're saying that? It's almost like they say it to trigger people so that they stop judging it in a way, or they get to them to look at it differently and it evolves them past that like hurdle, I guess, of maybe even the concept in a way. But I think it's just also different than what people think, regarding what purity is to them.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we should probably end it there.
Yeah. I'm sure people have a lot of questions, so I'm really wondering what the next episode is going to look like after this one. So I hope this was
Yeah.
helpful or you got um or you received what was for the highest good for you to receive from this one. And guys, thanks for tuning in. Maybe if you have any questions, you can drop them in the comments. I can't promise my guys will be like, yeah, use that one in the next episode because there are sometimes questions where like, nope, don't use that one. And for whatever reason, it's just not the conversation they'd like to have, or it's not the thing that's going to evolve people forward when they channel on it. So try not to take it personally if they don't like choose your questions, or anything like that. It's like they love you. The words I'm hearing, like they love you. It's just like, no, that's not the right one right now for everybody. So it's not like you suck if they don't choose your question. Okay. All right. Love you guys. Signing out for now. If you'd like to go further with any of my work, you can find my websites below, brandonhbloom.com. I'm going to leave it there though. Okay. If you, we do have channeled MP3s on my store. So if you like the full channel mode podcast, there are also full channel mode sessions. Not exactly like this because it's just my guides channeling through in the store and also in the Let's Go Higher membership. But I'll let you look into that if you feel called to it or explore it. If it feels like there's something there for you beyond that, you guys have a good rest of your day or evening. And I will see you on another episode of the Channeling Source podcast. All right.
All right, bye, guys.